Ding dong merrily on high, in heaven the bells are ringing. Ding dong verily the sky is rimmed with angels singing. Gloria, 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 Hosanna in excelsis. Gloria, 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 Hosanna in excelsis. Pray you dutifully crown your mighty chime ye ring us. May you beautifully rhyme your infant song ye sing us. Gloria, 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 Hosanna in excelsis.
Imagine your very own little Ellie, or little Elliot's, curiosity being sparked by one thoughtfully selected Christmas present. Whether that be Kid Concoctions, in the video you just saw, and which I have a review for, linked below. Whether it be a present from any one of these books, or any of these books themselves, which would certainly make a great Christmas present in their own right. What I'm trying to get at is this. It just takes one thoughtfully selected present for Christmas, or for any other holiday, to spark an entire lifetime of presents to give all year round. We are all pretty much in agreement that buying something from a retail shop, or in this case a thrift shop, is a perfectly acceptable thing to do, and the recipient of that gift will be none the wiser and no less grateful. But making something from the heart, from scratch, and giving that gift to the people you love, well, that's next level gift giving. So it only makes sense that the aim of this special video is to help you level up in your gift giving. Whether it be something for the kids and families, or a little something special for the adults. It's all about the gift of homemade thrift. Today, on this special holiday edition of the Thrift Store Rundown, bringing Hollywood home and sharing it with friends and family. As always, on a budget. Begin by answering a question which for over 50 years has made children and their children's children more curious than George the monkey. Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street? If I told you the real way to get to Sesame Street, well, I would bore you. But if you know me, and if you know this channel, TSR, we don't do boring. I've answered that question many times through many an awesome Sesame Street review, from cookbooks to DVDs. Now, we found another magical route to Sesame Street through their big book of crafts, purchased for 25% off the price of $2.49. This review has been brought to you by the letter P, as in Paragon, the UK-based publishing house behind this book, and by the number 100. Or should we say 100 plus, as in the amount of crafts and other fun things to make in this book. A few of them actually edible crafts, courtesy of who else but Cookie Monster and his fun food ideas. We also have Elmo's Awesome Animals, Zoe's Fun with Paper, Oscar's Top Trash Crafts, Prairie Dawn's Great Gifts, Big Bird's Marvelous Modeling, Snuffy's Toys and Games, Grover's Celebration Crafts, and Abby Cadabby's Garden Crafts. This book is full of creative fun things to make for your family, your friends, and yourself for all kinds of occasions. We first begin with some important safety tips to be aware of for parents and caregivers, the essential tools you'll need to get crafty, and tips for success from the Sesame Street gang. Prepare your space, wash your hands, follow steps carefully, measure precisely, be patient, and clean up. After all that, it's time to get hands-on. Here in Elmo's Awesome Animals, we have bread dough animals. This is actually an edible craft. Elmo loves the smell of fresh baked bread. Uncooked bread is called dough. It's easy to make shapes with bread dough, like these animal shapes. This is a kitchen-based craft. The materials you'll need for this snack, you can find right in your pantry, right in the kitchen. As is the case for Cookie Monster's fun food, so we'll show you that now. By the way, there is a recipe for salt dough in here, which you'll need for a few other crafts. Salt dough is completely inedible because there are a few teaspoons of salt, wondering it's salty. If you want to take a bite of it, well, that wouldn't end good. But let's move on to Cookie Monster's fun food, which go beyond the 6 pictures that you see here at the beginning. We have chalk chunk cookies, short for chocolate chunk cookies.
Me hear you say the word cookie. Can we make these delicious cookies with you?
I find the Cookie Monster imitation a bit more easier on the throat than the Elmo impersonation. But yes, I can make these delicious cookies with you, Cookie Monster. Just as long as you don't gobble them up and don't leave any for the rest of us. We have here some fruit smoothies. We also have some pasta jewelry. This, by the way, isn't edible. Gingerbread men, just in time for the upcoming holiday season ahead. A treasure map.
Me hope this map leads to a cookie treasure. Me need cookie treat after a big adventure.
Fishy burgers.
Me love cookies, but me like fishy burgers too. Do you like burgers or cookies or both?
To be honest with you, Cookie Monster, cookies. I'm not a big burger guy. If I have to, it'll probably be a chicken burger. I'm more of a poultry dude than anything else. I am partial to seafood, or at least will be one day. Oh well. But as you're going through all the crafts in here, edible and non-edible, they're all outlined in simple step-by-step instructions. And if you see here the little kid sign here with one of the Sesame Street Muppets, whether it be Grover or Abby or Prairie Dawn or Elmo, Big Bird, Oscar, anyone else, those are steps that your preschooler or whatever child that you have of any age can help you out with. So you see those labels right there? Those are kid-friendly steps. We also have here tasty cupcakes, peppermint candies, again, very holiday-esque. We also have a banana sundae. Okay, that's definitely a sometime food. Which leads me to tell you, Cookie, that a burger, whether it be a fish burger, chicken burger, beef burger, that is a sometime and anytime food. It depends on how it's made and what protein you choose. A cookie has been and will always be a sometime food. Finally, for fun food, we have clove pomanders. Clove pomanders make everything smell delicious.
Very spicy, like a spiced cookie.
Another cool craft idea to show you here is courtesy of Snuffy's Toys and Games. Funky monkeys, a shoebox aquarium, a bottle top snake, bottle Skittles, fishing games, travel checkers, that's portable checkers, taking that iconic game with you on the go, even though I don't know how to play checkers. A cardboard car, a beanbag with 2 G's, a royal crown. So, suffice it to say, these are gifts that are perfect for making and giving for the holidays. A miniature theater, that's pretty cool. I believe that's the highlight of Toys and Games for me. Tabletop soccer, that would be a highlight for my right-hand man David. Soccer is his all-time favorite sport, but then again, he's Peruvian, that's in his DNA. Tic-tac-toe, and finally pickup sticks. Just because this is a holiday-themed video, we're gonna highlight Grover's celebration crafts really quickly. Here we got some Christmas crackers. We also have Hanukkah candle holders, snowman cards, and a homemade Christmas advent calendar. Is that neat or what? You don't have to go out and buy those advent calendars. You can make your own. Parents, caregivers, childcare providers, friends, neighbors, anyone who takes care of young children, this is going to be a quality way to spend time with the little ones on a rainy afternoon, on a snow day, or if it's sunny outside and you feel like spending the day inside. Well then, this is going to be the book for you. The good vast majority of materials needed for these crafts you can find in a neighborhood craft store or at home. You don't have to travel far and wide to find these materials. And it's a little something for everybody and their particular literal tastes in some instances of crafting. All simple, all easy to do. They don't take up a lot of time or energy. This big book of crafts has lots of fun things for you to make. With easy to follow instructions, bright pictures, and top tips from Elmo, Big Bird, and the game from Sesame Street, it's safe to say that whether it's raining or snowing, this book provides plenty of sunny days inside to chase whatever clouds there might be outside away.
Hello guys, me Mo, and I'm here to teach you how to play checkers. Okay, the first thing is anyone can go first, including the gold or the black. Now the object of the game is to move anywhere. If you only go up, when the start of the game you have to go up only. You have to take each one turns. Now once any color that's the black goes like this, and you jump over, you get a point, and then so on. If any color reaches to the top, you can get 2 to be the king to move anywhere. Once you finish all of them, you win. And the trickiest part is if you get double or triple or even quadruple, you'll be lucky. So that's how you play checkers. So if this information is not helpful, I'll upload another video anytime. So type in the comment and rate. Good day.
Dads, listen up. Whether you felt like the richest man in town as you held your newborn baby for the first time, cradled in your arms, and said, I will do whatever I can to make sure it's a wonderful life for you. Or if you discovered your newfound fatherhood through this,
You are the father.
and if you did find your fatherhood through that, well, my condolences. But either way, listen up. Quality time with your kids is not earned by sitting around doing nothing. It's made through that special bond that you create with your kids. Through this book, we're going to help you do just that. Get hands-on in literally creating quality time with your kids. With your heads, your hands, your heart, and a heck of a lot of 2x4s. This is Handy Dad, 25 awesome projects for dads and kids. This comes to us from Todd Davis, who was a fan favorite on HGTV's Design Star, earning 2nd place and eventually his own show on HGTV, Over Your Head. Photography is by Julie Stewart and Todd Davis himself, with illustrations by Nick Schultz. This was purchased for $2.99 and is a Chronicle Books publication. Handy Dad offers up 25 mega fun projects that will keep kids entertained for hours. Your kids will be the coolest on the block. This retails for $24.95. Here in the US, there is no Canadian retail price to speak of. There you go. Now, there are 25 projects, so there's not even half to consider outdoors and indoors. So I would say a little less than half of the projects are outdoor projects, and bearing in mind that there'll be plenty of inclement weather ahead, we're going to proceed with the indoor projects, and a good amount of them, starting with a trip to the 70s, why don't you say, with this lava lamp, with a difficulty level of, let's see here, super easy. That means it's something that you and the kids can do in about half an hour. This is the list of materials you'll need, along with some fasteners and tools. When you reminisce about the days of bell-bottoms, breezies, and moonlight skates at the roller rink, do your kids just stare at you blankly? Well, the 70s might not mean much to them. but I bet they'll freak out when they see this mind-blowing icon of awesomeness. And you'll need some oil, water, food coloring, and a little Alka-Seltzer. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, how fun it is! And for all its simplicity and all its nostalgia, that certainly looks like a far-out project. Moving on to a tie-dye project, again keeping it in the 70s. These are materials you'll need, and it is a pretty easy job for you and the kids to tackle, which should take about an entire afternoon, but you know what? That's time well spent. Again, going back to the 70s, a decade of which the kids might never understand unless you show them. Moving on to some sandcastles. It's a challenging project which could take about an afternoon to tackle. A good majority of these projects come with photographic step-by-step instructions, each of them captioned so you can follow them to the letter as they are outlined. Same thing goes for the tie-dye, which I forgot to show you. My bad. Continuing, we have a little dollhouse to share. To a little girl, what's better than dolls? Not much except for a house to put them in. A dollhouse doesn't, however, just provide a home for dolls. It provides a home for a girl's imagination. Here, she can bring to life relationships and stories acted out in her own little version of Home Sweet Home. It's a challenging project that will require an entire weekend to do. But Todd is willing to bet that every hour you put into building it will bring her many, many more hours of playtime joy. So that's quite an involved project. You'll need to make a trip to the local craft store to get the materials for this. But it should be time well spent. Here are some angel wings that you can hang above your child's bed so that he or she can feel like an angel whenever they enter. Who wouldn't want to fly through their dreams on these graceful wings? Whether for angel, eagle, fairy princess, or Pegasus, nothing beats soaring through the night on magical wings of fur and feathers. With a little help from Dad, of course. In the arms of this particular angel, for parents and caregivers alike, well then, your child is in safe, comfortable hands. Did I mention really, really hands as well? Because if you take a look closely at the step-by-step captions and instructions, Todd Davis's writ is in full effect here. We also have a light box. A nightlight is okay, but what if you could build your kids a magic box with which they could see the surface of the ocean from 10 leagues underwater, or see through the mist of a redwood forest? In other words, and in summation, this is essentially a little miniature aquarium that lights up at night. It's a super challenging project that will require an entire weekend to do. But once again, that is a weekend with your kids that is well spent. One more project. A circus tent. It's super challenging, it requires a weekend to tackle, but hey, it's a really neat way to bring the circus into your home without having to go into town to visit the circus. Because really, the big top is at home. Naturally, the big top is in your home because for a lot of kids in your house, or just 2 or 1, it feels like a circus at times. And of all the projects that I've highlighted in this quick review, well, this has the most amount of steps to it. So let's talk a little bit about the projects and how they range in difficulty and time. Well, we got super easy projects that can take about 30 minutes, like the lava lamp. We have a really easy project like the paper airplane, which can take about 10 minutes. Then we have the afternoon projects, let's see here. A rope swing, that's an outdoor project that requires an afternoon to do, yet it's pretty easy because, well, not a lot of materials. However, you will need to learn how to tie a knot for the rope swing, and that applies for the lion mane tire swing as well. At the end of the book, Todd gives you instructions for tying simple and complex knots. We also have here a skate longboard, which takes an entire weekend and is challenging to tackle. By the way, a skate longboard a BMX bike ramp, and a skateboard half-pipe. I forgot to mention that Todd Davis was, in fact, a record-breaking extreme athlete, and that certainly is on display in a few of these projects, like this half-pipe, which is super challenging and will take a weekend to do, but should be fun to construct nonetheless, especially if your kid is into extreme sports, like maybe Todd Davis's son is. Good amount of photography and graphical illustrations as well. Each and every one of these illustrations and photography, step-by-step captioned, so you know which steps to follow. And all around, a good amount of indoor and outdoor projects for you and your kids to tackle. Definitely makes this book worth buying. Kid-tested, mom-approved, and easy enough for dads of all levels and expertise. Half-pipes, ziplines, go-karts, and more. In this super cool book, Todd Davis, star of HGTV's Design Star and Over Your Head, shows how to build all sorts of projects kids will love. From simple classics to more ambitious structures and contraptions, Handy Dad outlines everything you need to know to whip up projects in an afternoon, a day, or a weekend. This book got its praise from a few of Todd's colleagues at HGTV and beyond. As you take a quick peek at the rest of the projects highlighted on the back cover featured in this book, I want to quickly mention a story about my dad and I building a lemonade stand in an apartment basement across the street from this very studio. It was time well spent. Unfortunately, that lemonade stand never came to fruition, and I had plans for that lemonade stand. I was going to use the money to do some traveling, but I guess it's for the best. Those are memories that unfortunately I'm never going to recreate with my father, but at least I'll keep it in my head and in my heart, and definitely in my hands, always. When kids sell lemonade, utilizing lemonade stands, well, it's adorable and they make a heck of a lot of moolah. They might even make the front page of the paper or the local 6 o'clock news. When adults run lemonade stands without children, well, they might as well have a detective stand near their lemonade stand at all times to make sure there's no funny business going on. Today's society is so woke that we can't really do children's activities without kids present. If that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not at liberty to say at this point. What I will say is that you don't see the Property Brothers tackling these kind of projects, do you? And not to knock Jonathan and Drew Scott, the only other HGTV fellows I have reviewed in one capacity or another, the Dream Home book, which I will link below as well. But I gotta say, I have to hand it to Todd Davis, the only extreme athlete that I'm aware of that takes quality time with your kids to the extreme! There's nothing like sitting by the fireplace, all warm and toasty, wearing a new hand-knit sweater, just sewing, stitching, and quilting to your heart's content. If you can't dream up that scenario and not feel any warmth inside your soul, then maybe this is the book that provides you the basis to do so. It's also the very first time I ever talked about sewing on this channel, which is definitely not my forte. But you know what? I'll try anything twice. And I mean twice, as in, I actually took a sewing class once with Miss Porto at school number 2. We were learning the very fundamental, foundational basics of sewing. I'd say this book is just a step above those foundational basics. It's for the beginners who aren't so beginners. This is the best of Sewing with Nancy, which I picked up for 75% off the price of $2.69. It was one of those what the heck purchases, and inside you'll see why. But first, if you haven't got down with Sewing with Nancy, well, sewing fanatic or not, you really ought to get down, because Nancy Zeman, for over 30 years, was the hostess of TV's longest-running sewing and quilting show. Not just public television's longest-running sewing series, television's longest sewing series, period. The titular Sewing with Nancy, produced at the studios of Wisconsin Public Television, now Wisconsin PBS. This book was published by Oxmoor House in, let's see here, well, 1993. So this book is from the early 90s. You are about to see why, number one, this was a surefire purchase for me, and number two, why I had to put the disclaimer at the beginning of this segment. Why? Because, well, I no pun intended, okay pun intended, did not want to highlight this. Luxurious lingerie. Because I wanted to go with the majority vibe for this video. We've done 2 kids and family craft books, and I didn't want to throw the whole vibe off and possibly get this video flagged in violation of the community guidelines in talking about lingerie. Luxurious lingerie. By the way, you can thank Drew Dorsey of Clever Style for that pronunciation. Lingerie. The word brings to mind a picture of delicate feminine clothing, slips, camisoles, and teddies. In this chapter, I'd like to share some of my favorite ideas for creating lingerie. Choose your favorite fabrics, silky woven fabrics for luxurious lingerie, or classic knits for comfortable and easy care garments. The sewing techniques are equally as varied, from streamlined to creative. Sewing lingerie is fun. Let's get started.
Start a new series entitled Luxurious Lingerie. I'm going to be showing you techniques of working with both knit and woven fabrics. Many times when I think of lingerie, I think of the tricot, but not so much any longer. Work a lot with the interlock knits, jersey knits, and the luxurious silk or silkies. Here's a preview of what we'll be doing today. This 2-piece outfit in the purple with the black lace is made of a woven fabric, obviously with a lace trim. There are certain techniques that differ between knits and wovens, and I'll be pointing those out throughout the basics of seaming, applying lace, and then being creative. The panties are made of the traditional tricot, and I'll be showing you again how to work with the lace and the seaming and the elastics. We're going to start off by identifying the different types of fabrics. Obviously the knits, wovens, and the combinations, and all the notions that you need for this kind of fun type of sewing. It looks luxurious and elegant. It is, but it's also quick to sew.
If you're of that particular persuasion, sewing lingerie can be fun. And in here, Nancy shows you that it can be simple and easy to do if you have the right fabrics and the right tools for the job. She outlines simple projects in easy-to-follow steps and colorful graphics with photos to accentuate all the practicality in here. And that's not just for the lingerie. It applies to a variety of sewing projects, which I have to say aren't that many. But the few projects that are in here that you can do, well, they're pretty much easy to do if you have the right tools. And that brings me to another point of contention. This book was published in the early 90s. So yeah, it might have aged with time, and sewing is definitely not my thing. But hey, it might have some use for you. Away from the lingerie, assembling the elements, successful techniques for beautiful lingerie, and then creating your own lingerie, panties, a panelist wrap, slip, stretch, lace, waistline insert, activewear elastic applications, and a laced laundry bag. Nancy guides you through the project materials which you'll need for these sewing projects, the basic techniques to master, the right fabrics, the right materials, the right techniques, quilted facets like a log cabin shirt, fusion stitch patchwork, applying designer touches to everyday clothing, speed tailoring a jacket, and then sewing basics at the end of the book, plus layout and cutting tips. Again, all simple step-by-step instructions. Simple, yet relatively thoroughly detailed in here. And I'm just giving you a very basic analysis and review of a book which I really didn't have any business picking up. And again, I really wanted to disregard the lingerie chapter in here because, again, I had to go with the majority vibe. I didn't want to throw the whole vibe off. But having said that, I must say, Nancy does play it simple, straight, and safe. There is nothing risque about that section or any other sections in here. I mean, if Nancy ever went risque with lingerie in here or anything else, photo-wise or graphic-wise or illustration, then she would not have been on public television for over 30 years, nationally.
Working with lace and making it look like antique lace by doing some stitching over the lace. I worked with a water-soluble stabilizer in the hoop, and this is the stabilizer called Wash Away. It comes away obviously with water. The lace was temporarily pinned into place with Instapin to hold it down. And then the stitching in the open area of the lace with just plain straight stitches and without the feed dog of the machine, just working this free motion. The blind hem stitch has a lot of potential, whether it's woven fabrics or knit fabrics, and we used it in today's program very frequently for slip straps or for that little trim edge that we had on that great oriental type ensemble. Remember that when you're stitching with this, the zig of the stitch goes off the fabric to create the scallop. The last thing was the laundry bag, and just a little hint on caring for your lingerie. Even though these two fabrics are alike in color, you may think they may be washed well together, but if one is a synthetic and the other is a natural fiber, please separate them. If you wash synthetics and natural fibers together, especially nylon, the nylon will attract the dirt from the cotton, become dingy and yellow. So keep that in mind with your laundry.
As long as you have a very basic fundamental knowledge of all the different techniques of sewing and all the different embroideries and fabrics and materials and the tools you need, then maybe you can master this book. And I guarantee you, no matter what price you encounter for it, I guarantee it'll be so worth it. Now, for my favorite part of the entire show, reviewing all 3 of these books with my usual 5-clap rating system. A possible maximum score of 15 claps is up at stake. Time for the top spot, Sesame Street's Big Book of Claps and Todd Davis's Handy Dad, for their inspiration, their charm, and their practicality, inner and outer, for all ages. As for the best of Sewing with Nancy, I wish there were a few more sewing projects wherein we could apply our newfound sewing, embroidery, fabric, quilting, stitching knowledge. But hey, the book is dedicated to Sewing with Nancy viewers, and you saw one of many behind-the-scenes photographs of Sewing with Nancy being taped at the Wisconsin Public Television Studios, now PBS Wisconsin. So I believe 4.5 out of 5 claps will do you just fine. And unless you guys say otherwise, it might be the only Sewing with Nancy book you'll see here on this channel. Well, with a total of 14.5 out of 15 claps, I think we conquered a major hurdle at TSR, venturing out of the cooking arena in terms of lifestyle programming. Cooking is my main forte, and I'm often weary to venture out into other areas of DIY, like crafting, gardening, building, sewing, you get it. But I'm glad we did, because the moral of the story that applies to all ages is this: the holidays are better homemade. And around here, they're especially better on the Thrift side, which is where, of course, I will see you next time. Thanks a lot for joining us. Bye for now. Oh, and happy holidays.
Ding dong merrily on high, in hand the bells are ringing. Ding dong verily the sky is rimmed with angels singing. Gloria, Hosanna in excelsis. Gloria, Hosanna in excelsis.
My videos.